All right, today we're tackling something that really made me do a double take. There's this brand new currency ranking out there, and it's completely flipped the script on what we think makes money valuable. I mean, the result is so wild, so out of left field, that we just had to break it down. Ready? Let's get into it.
Okay, so we're not going to bury the lead here. Let's just jump right in. Because honestly, the best way to get what's going on is to start with the result that's causing all this buzz, the one that's got everyone talking. Brace yourselves. But first, let's set the stage. Think about it. For the longest time, trying to compare different kinds of money has been a total mess, right? I mean, how on earth do you compare the US dollar, backed by a government, to something like Dogecoin or the euro to Ethereum? You've got your traditional fiat currency, your decentralized crypto, your stable coins. They're like apples, oranges, and I don't know, spaceships. They all play by different rules, so how could you possibly rank them all on one level playing field? It's been a huge puzzle. Well, somebody decided to try and solve that puzzle. And get this. Here's what they came up with. On the screen, you can see the top of the leaderboard. At number 1, the US dollar. Okay, no surprise there. Number 2, the euro. Again, makes perfect sense. And then we get to number 3, the Awonow Sovereign Currency, or ASC. And I'm guessing you're thinking the same thing I was. The what now? And that right there, that's the big mystery we're unpacking today. How is it possible that a currency that isn't even fully out there yet, it's still in what they call a pre-pilot stage, how can it rank higher than the British pound, the Japanese yen, even Bitcoin? It doesn't seem to add up, does it? So to figure this out, we need to look under the hood. We've got to examine the tool that came up with this ranking in the first place, because it's a totally new way of looking at money, a framework that's never really been used before. It's called the Global Monetary and Exchange Excellence Score, or GME²S for short, which is a lot easier to say. And its goal is pretty simple, but also really ambitious, to create a single score from 0 to 100 that can judge any currency. Doesn't matter if it's fiat, crypto, a stable coin, you name it. And it's judging them on their fundamental quality, their credibility, and, this is the key part, their design. Now, the best way to think about this is with an analogy. The GME²S score isn't a popularity contest. It's not about who's the biggest player on the playground right now. It's more like a super detailed spec sheet for money. You know, like when you're buying a car and you look at the engine specs, the safety ratings, the engineering. That's what this does for currency. It's looking at the deep down engineering and safety, not just who's using it the most today. And this isn't some secret formula they cooked up in a lab. The whole process is actually pretty transparent. As you can see, it's a straightforward 3-step system. First, they define a bunch of indicators with clear goals. Then, they group those indicators into these weighted pillars. And from there, they calculate that one final global score. It's all very methodical, which is important. Okay, so that's the how. But what about the what? What is this score actually measuring? When they say excellence in a currency, what does that even mean? Well, it all boils down to 6 core pillars. And here they are. You can see right away that this system puts a ton of weight on the fundamentals, the stuff that creates real long-term stability. You've got 20 points each for macroeconomic soundness. Basically, is the economy behind it stable? Then another 20 for monetary and FX credibility. Can you actually trust their policies? And 20 for market design. You know, does the financial plumbing work smoothly? After that, you've got scores for regulatory integrity. Is it safe and on the level? Currency design. Is it built for the modern world? And finally, inclusion and sustainability. Can everybody use it, and is it eco-friendly? So these first 3, you could think of them as the classic bedrock qualities of any strong currency. Is inflation under control? Is the government's debt manageable? Is the monetary policy clear and the exchange rate not all over the place? And, do things like payments and markets actually work fast and efficiently? It's the boring but absolutely crucial stuff. Now, the next 3 pillars are where things get really interesting and, frankly, very 21st century. This is all about being safe and ready for the future. Does the currency follow global banking and anti-money laundering standards? Is it designed so that everyone has access, not just a select few? And does it have a light environmental footprint? And this is huge. Is the currency itself well designed for a digital world? We're talking anti-counterfeiting, consumer protection, and even readiness for things like central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Okay, so now we get the 6 pillars, we understand the spec sheet, now we can finally circle all the way back to our original mystery. How does looking at this blueprint for money explain how the ASC, this pre-pilot currency, ended up at number 3?
And here is the absolute key, the fundamental shift in thinking. See, most rankings look at what's on the left, current adoption. It's all about how much money is flowing, who's using it today. And that, of course, is always going to favor the established giants like the dollar and the euro. But the GME²S framework focuses on what's on the right, structural design. It's looking at the quality of the blueprint itself. And this is a game changer, because it means a brand new currency, if it's engineered brilliantly from day one, can be judged on its potential and its built-in quality. And boom, here it is, the aha moment, straight from the analysis itself. The quote says it all. ASC, despite being pre-pilot, it outperforms cryptos and rivals USD/EUR by design. Why? Because the ASC was apparently built from the ground up to score high on those 6 pillars. It was literally engineered for excellence. So even though it's not widely used yet, its blueprint, its spec sheet, is so good that it rivals the US dollar and beats out most major cryptocurrencies.
Let's make this more concrete. Take one category, inclusion and sustainability. In that pillar, the ASC actually ranks number 1 overall. Number 1. Why? Well, because its design apparently includes things like a really low barrier to entry, so it's easy for anyone to get started. It has a recognized focus on being green, and it has this feature called reserve inheritance, which is basically a built-in way to make sure the currency's stability gets passed down through generations. These are exactly the kind of forward-thinking design choices that score off the charts in this new framework. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean? This isn't just about one surprising list. What we're looking at is a completely new lens, a new way to see the entire world of money and what gives it value. And that brings us to the final, really fascinating conclusion from the source. They say that when you blend the two ways of looking at it, when you combine today's real-world adoption with the quality of the structural design, you get a true top 3 that's totally reshuffled. You've got the US dollar, still on top because of its massive global use, but then you have the ASC right there because of its superior future-proof blueprint, and the euro for its incredible reserve strength. A completely new world order. So if you remember one thing from this, let it be this. We might be heading into a new era, an era where a currency's future value depends less on its history, less on how long it's been around, and way, way more on how well it's been intentionally designed for the world of tomorrow. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about, doesn't it? If we now know that currency can be engineered for excellence, if it's possible to design money to be safer, more inclusive, and more stable from the get-go, then what should we, the people who use it every day, start demanding from our money tomorrow?